Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, From the Sidelines, Why Emergency Information is Critical for Athletes. Nearly 40 million children and adolescents participate in organized sports in North America every year. With this many youth involved in sports, injuries ranging from bruises, sprains, to repetitive motion, concussions can actually occur really regularly. From hockey to baseball to triathlons, football, every sports association at every level makes athlete safety a top priority, both on and off the field, off the ice, pitch, and so forth. My name is Wagner, and I'll be your host here today. I'm an account executive here at ePACT, and I've been part of the team since 2015. I work closely with sports associations across the United States and Canada to help them enhance their safety, security for their players, which as a previous athlete myself, is a big passion of mine. I'm super excited to welcome our guest here today. His name is Mark L. He's a great friend of mine, and he used to play as a left wing and center for the Odessa Jackalopes. They used to be an affiliate of the New York Islanders. So thanks for joining me today, Mark, and welcome.
Thanks for having me, Wagner. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get started, for anyone who isn't familiar with us, ePACT is an online emergency network that helps sports associations move their health forms, waivers, consents into a much more secure and cloud-based system. ePACT helps sports associations of all kinds meet their requirements around the collection and management of personal health information, providing secure access to critical information when it's needed the most. If you're interested in learning more, I'll be sure to share our website and contact information at the end of the webinar. So without any further ado, let's talk hockey and safety. So Mark, I know you played with the Odessa Jackalopes and now you enjoy hockey as more of a recreational sport. So tell us a little bit more about your history with hockey and your time in the ECHL.
Yeah, so I guess hockey's my first love. I played all types of sports growing up, but hockey was one that I really, truly invested most of my time in. As a youth, I played for North Vancouver Minor Hockey and the North Shore Winter Club. I moved up the ranks and played junior hockey in the ECHL. I managed to get a full-ride scholarship down to the U.S., so I went to a school in New Hampshire, just outside of Boston, for 4 years. And then after that, made my dreams come true and signed my first pro level. My first year was with Odessa, and my second year ended with Texas Brahmas.
Awesome. That's quite the resume. And I mean, given the speed of the game, it's pretty safe to assume that players did get injured, and you've probably seen a lot of players get injured right there on the ice with you. So what were some of the most common injuries that you and your teammates experienced during practices or games?
Yeah, there's all types of injuries for hockey. It's a tough sport. It's a beautiful sport, but it does have its fair share of physical aspect to it. So lots of bumps and bruises, missing teeth, stitches. For myself, I had quite a few concussions, broken bones, things like that.
Wow. Yeah. And what about off the ice? Did your teammates have any medical conditions and stuff like that the coaching staff and management needed to be aware of?
Yeah, actually, funny enough, one of the guys I played pro with, he was epileptic. So that was very important to know that if he had a seizure on the ice, what needed to be done as far as treating the situation.
Wow. Okay. And how did the team usually prepare for situations like that? Obviously, making sure that you guys had the right equipment, medication for those medical conditions.
Yeah, there's growing up, honestly, there wasn't that much there. We didn't really have the resources, especially at the youth level.
Right.
I think when I first had my first concussion when I was probably 10, 12 years old, there wasn't much to do. No one really knew how to handle them, or if, for example, I had one before. So when that happened, it was kind of up to my parents and maybe my family doctor to really help me with that concussion, and then basically it was up to them to decide if I played or if I didn't. But yeah, there definitely really wasn't that much information out there for kids growing up.
Yeah, sounds like things have really evolved. And I mean, just especially thinking about that one season that you just mentioned, where you started the season pretty healthy and that concussion happened. throughout the season. How did your team actually manage that information throughout the year? How did they update that information?
Yeah, I think so. At the youth level, you know, it was you would fill out a form before the year, and that would be part of you know, the documentation. It was all paper based. There wasn't much there. When I went to college, they started to really be aware of concussions. It became more serious topics. So there was a baseline testing, but still it wasn't up to the standards that it needed to be. And then in pro, you know, we just didn't have the money or the resources. So yeah, we had a baseline test, but there wasn't much else there for you.
I see. Yeah. And when it came to preparing for the season, did your team have any sort of physical test or pre-participation sort of physical exam before the season?
Yeah, definitely. In the junior ranks, college and pro, I went through a rigorous physical examination as well as the VO2 max testing, things like that. The injury side was a little different or hard because a lot of players, when you sign those contracts and things, you don't want to really tell your coaches or people what you're going through. So I think having something like ePACT is huge for those trainers to really understand, you know, the history behind these players.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you know, here at ePACT, we do work with a lot of youth hockey associations that require players and their families really to sign behavioral consents, waivers. Is that something that you experienced growing up and at the pro level?
Yeah, I'd say a little bit, but you know, there wasn't that much data on it, to be perfectly honest, especially at the youth level.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, and in case of, say, an on-ice injury or a medical emergency, what was the process from a care perspective there?
Yeah, so when you got hurt, I guess the youth level, the coaches would get involved because you didn't have the trainers or staff. It was just a coach, assistant coach, and your parents. The college level, they had some trainers and always had a doctor present, but at the pro level, because of the cost associated with the team, it was basically up to one guy that had to control all of that. And yeah, it's I think it was tough because he didn't really have that much information to go off of, and he wasn't that qualified to you know, to make those decisions. Right.
And what about whenever there was a more serious medical condition, say a player had to be transferred to a hospital or maybe, you know, needed some professional medical care? How did coaches or really the medical staff ensure that doctors had the correct information, especially in case of an unresponsive player?
So I know we talked about this before. It's kind of funny. When I had my serious concussion playing hockey and you know, it went to that next level where I really had to get a specialized opinion, basically my trainer had given me a folder full of paper, and in that paper really wasn't much. So when I brought that to the specialist to really examine my head injury, he really had nothing to work with. So it was basically on me of my information, what I was giving him.
Wow, that's crazy. And I mean, especially for hockey, concussions are unfortunately a huge part of any contact sports, and hockey's no different. So while coaching staff and players do their part to manage and prevent them by using helmets and practicing with controlled hits and stuff, how did your team manage the concussion process and really that subsequent return to play protocol?
Yeah, I think it was just the baseline test that we would do at the beginning of the year, and then they had some of the archaic stuff we used to do was you'd follow someone's finger, and they had like flashlights that they would put in your eyes. I remember in youth when I had a concussion, they used to wake me up every hour, which now you're starting to find out that that's not the right protocol to do. You shouldn't be waking someone up, especially if they have a head injury like that, traumatic. It's essential that they get that rest. So I think having a process in place like ePACT from when you're really young is huge to really analyze that data as medical continues to evolve and we continue to get a better understanding on concussions and how to treat these injuries
Yeah.
properly. Having that data set from years past is really huge to really understand on how to react when someone gets injured.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, playing at the pro level at the ECHL, you guys probably hit the road a lot and went to a lot of away games. So how did you guys really keep that information on the road, kind of on the go?
Yeah, we were traveling all over the U.S. So I was part of the Central Hockey League, which turned into the ECHL. So we would be on the road for 18 hours.
Wow.
Sometimes even longer. So we go all the way from Arizona to Chicago, places like that. So it was quite the journeys. And to be honest, I have no idea what they did with information. They had it on them. I mean, back then we had folders of paper.
Yeah.
So are they really carrying all that paper on the bus, 18-hour drives? Like, probably not.
Yeah. And I mean, as you know, that information, especially when handled on paper, could end up getting damaged, lost, or end up in a hockey bag. So so now that you have a little bit more of a background on ePACT, how do you think a system like ePACT could actually help your team or help your associations that you played for growing up?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I'm a big tech guy, and to see technology evolve, something like this is a true asset, especially at the youth level, to have that information to make sure that player safety is number one. And just so everyone that's involved with the player when they get hurt, they understand what's going on and they know exactly how to treat it. I think that's the biggest thing, is a lot of this stuff gets missed, especially if the kid has a concussion. I mean, he's not going to be able to tell you really how he's feeling or kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So at least if you have that background and that knowledge to really understand his past and his history and what is happening right now, you really have all the tools available to attack that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all of the questions that I had for you today, Mark. Did you have anything else you wanted to add that might be valuable for our listeners?
No, I think it's a great tool, and go for ePACT.
Right on, yeah. So, Mark, we covered a lot today. Thank you so much for sharing your experience as a professional athlete and answering all of my questions. I hope we've shared some valuable insight into the importance of really ensuring athlete safety in all levels in sports. To our listeners, if you'd like to learn more about ePACT and how we can support your association's safety processes, please don't hesitate to send us an email, give us a call, or visit our website. And other than that, we've come to the end of our presentation today, so thanks for joining us, and I hope to see you guys soon.